This is a video that will help you to correct your assessment on stem and leaf, cumulative frequency and box plots, and it will also enable you to complete your review piece of work that I've set you for homework for Tuesday. Let's have a look at this first question. Jessica counted the number of words in each of the first 25 sentences of a book. Here are her results. Okay, so these are my 25 sentences of the book. The first sentence had 24 words, the second 11, and so on and so forth. In the space below, draw an ordered stem and leaf diagram to show her results. You should include a key. Okay, so many of you forgot to include this key and lost a mark. But let's go through how you do it. This in general was done pretty well. So I'm going to draw my stem, and I'm going to have a look what it starts with. So it starts with numbers that are just in the below 10. So I'm going to have 0 as a possible stem, and then 1. So this is going to be anything in the 10s, anything in the 20s. It goes up to 30s, I believe. So yeah, there are some in the 30s. And there's a couple in the 40s, and I don't think it goes up to the 50s, so I think that'll do me. And now I'm going to start to put them in. So I'm just going to do them one at a time, so I make sure that I cross them all off. So I'm going to do an unordered one, and then I will do an ordered stem and leaf diagram afterwards. If you do it that way, it's much less likely that you'll make a mistake. So 24, that's in. 11. 29, 28, 25, 46, 19, 15, 19 again. Notice here I'm lining these up. If you keep them nicely lined up in columns, then it's going to be easier to see exactly how many more, how many more 10 in the 10s there are, or how many more in the 20s there are, that sort of thing. So it's good to keep them lined up in columns. So 18, 22, 28, 22, 33, 4, 1, 6, 13, 30, 13 again, 15, 2, 25, 15, and 6. So I've got my unordered stem and leaf diagram, and now I want to do an ordered one because it's important that it starts for each set of leaves starts with the lowest value, closest to the stem, and goes from there. So I'll put another line in my ordered. Make it clear that this is my ordered one. Ordered, and I'll put in here 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so I'm going to cross off again from here just to make sure I get it. So 1 goes in first, then 2, then 4, 6, and 6 again. 11 goes in first there, then no 12s, 2 13s, no 14s, 1, 2, 3 15s, so an 18 and an 18 and 2 19s. So okay, in the 20s, any 20s? No. Any 21s? No. 22s. 2 of them. 23s? No. 124. two 25s, two 28s and a 29. Okay, 30, there is a 30, and there's a 33, and a 46. Job not quite done. Yes, that's correct ordered stem and leaf diagram. I now just need to make sure I've got my key in. So I put my key, and I need to show what it means. So my key would be something like 1. Let's make it, so 1, and then a line, and then 3 means 13. That's it. Done. Okay. What was the median number of words in a sentence? Okay, so my median is my middle number once they're in order. Or if there's 2 in the middle, because it's an even number of it's an even amount of sentences, then it would be halfway in between the 2 in the middle. But there's an odd, so it will just be one number in the middle. Should be, if I've done it correctly. So I'm going to cross off from the beginning and the end and find out which number's in the middle. I'll start with the lowest, then the highest, and the next lowest. Careful here, next highest is 33, not 30, so yeah, next highest, next lowest, next highest, next lowest, next highest, lowest, 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 lowest, highest. Okay, this one. So, there it is. What was the median number of words in a sentence? It was, careful, it's not 9, it's 19. Because of this is 19 here, isn't it? If you remember from up there. So, what was the median number of words in a sentence? 19. What was the range? The highest was 46, the lowest was 1, so it's 46. Take away 1 equals 45. Any other sort of questions you might get asked would be something like, what was the mode? And I think there are 3 15s, I think, which trumps anything else, beats anything else. So 15 would be the mode. What was the modal group? The modal group would be the teens. Anything in the teens, because there's more in the teens. There's more sentences in that start with a 1, so not teens, because 11 isn't a teen, is it? But between 10 and 20. Between 10 and 19, rather, to be more precise, would be my modal group here. Okay, so next question. Let's have a look at it. Just adjusting the camera a little bit. Bear with me a moment. Okay, do the focus. So we've got the height of 30 students in a class was measured, and the results are recorded as follows. Okay, so there's 4 students who are between 130 and 140, I presume, centimetres. There's 7 between 140 and 150, 9 between 150 and 160, and so on and so forth. 1 very tall person between 180 and 190. So, right, well, the first thing I need to do, let's have a look. On the graph paper provided, so that's this bit here, draw a cumulative frequency graph for the data. So I know it's going to be a cumulative frequency, so I'm going to put a cumulative frequency column in here, and I'll just call it CF, but you can write cumulative frequency if you want. So cumulative frequency, I'm adding up as I go along. So 4 to this point, then 4 plus 7 gives me 11 to this point. 11 plus the 9 gives me 20. I'm just adding up as I go along. Now I should come to 30 in total, so let's hope it does. 26, 29 and 30, it does. That's nice. So on the graph paper provided, draw a cumulative frequency graph for the data. Okay, first things first is I'm going to need to, I'm going to need to label. So, just adjust my zoom a little bit, or my focus a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to need to put some axes on here. I'm going to start at the lowest possible score, so that's 130. I'll put that there. Now, the lowest possible, not score, height in centimetres. So I'm going to write down here my label for the axis. That's height, and I'll put it in centimetres because it's the only thing sensible that could be, although it doesn't say it. Always on this side it's going to be cumulative frequency. cumulative frequency, if it's a cumulative frequency graph we're drawing, which it is. So, cumulative frequency and height. So it goes from 130, and let's see, if I go 140, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, that'll do me. So I'm going to do that 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190. And that's it. That's as far as I need to go. So that's, this point here is 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190. Okay. Now, cumulative frequency on this side, it's got to go up to 30. So if I go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, that should be fine. So 2, 4, 6, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. That's the most it will go up to. So I got that. Now, here's the key bit. I need to plot these points. Now, I hope you guys can remember I said if my cumulative frequency of 4 for the 130 to the 140 category, I'm going to or group, I'm going to plot that right at the end of that group. So 140 and 4, that's going to be plotted there. Okay, 140 to 150, that's going to be plotted at 150. And I'm not going to plot 7 on mine, I'm going to plot the cumulative frequency of 11. So 150 and 11. Okay, next one, 160 is the top end of the next group, and 20. I plotted this on 13. I've made an error. I'm going to just delete and rub that out. My trusty rubber, and yeah, just there. On 11. 160 then, I'm going to plot that at 20. So, 160 and 20. 170, 260, 170, so 26. I'll put that there. Then it goes to 29. And finally to 30. Okay, all that remains for me to do now is to join it up with a nice smooth curve. Now remember, I'm going to join up to 130 and 0 because there are 4 people who are in this area here between 130 and 140. So we're representing them by connecting it up. So I'm going to connect it all up, try to draw nice and smoothly through my points. A bit of a skill in itself. There, done. That's my cumulative frequency curve complete. Now for this question, that was all I would have to do. However, you may get a question, I think I've set one for you as part of your homework, where you need to try to estimate the medians, or you can even do quartiles, finding the quartiles from this. So if I were to try to find the median, I would actually want the 15.5 one. Person to find the height of. I add 1 and I divide by 2 to find my median. Think about that. If there's 3 pieces of data, you want the second person. So if there were just 3 students, obviously the median would be the second person. And so what you have to do is add 1 and divide by 2. So you get 4 divided by 2 gives you that second person 2. Rewind that if that doesn't make full sense to you, and hopefully it will when you listen to it again. So yeah, anyway, around 15 and a half. Now we're only after an estimate here, so I'm going to go along from here, show it going along. My median would be my 15 and a half person, and down to the line from there, my median height, according to this cumulative frequency graph, my median height would be about 154 to 155. So my median here would be that. I could also work out my upper quartile by just taking 31 and dividing it by 4 and then times it by 3, or times it by 3/4 to find my upper part. So if you imagine that would be this 15 and a half plus about 7.5 units. So it's about 22 and a half. So if I go across from there, a little bit more, so about 22, 23 nearly. So I'm going to go across from there down. That would be my upper quartile. So my upper quartile for height, according to this, would be 164. My lower quartile would be a quarter of the data, so it's just over 7.5. And I can go along from there. So my lower quartile would be 146. So my interquartile range is the difference between the two, which is 164 taking away 146. 54, 54, so it's about 18. My interquartile range for this is about 18 centimeters. Right, you didn't have to do that for this question, but you will do on one of the things I've set you, so good that I've gone through it. Okay. Next bit, next question, next page. So, here we go. A student rolled a fair dice and recorded the number of throws it took until she recorded a 6. She repeated the experiment a number of times and her results were these. Firstly, let's just check how many times she did it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times. Okay, so I'm going to put them in order because, you know, to be able to find the median, the lower quartile, all the information I need. For a box and whisker plot, I need the lowest value, the minimum. Okay, I'm going to write that down here, what I need. So I'm going to need to find... Let me just zoom out a little bit again. Okay. Zooming out for me just means moving the camera. So min, I'm going to need the minimum, I'll need the lower quartile, I'll need the median, I need the upper quartile, and I need the maximum. That's the information I need for my stem and leaf. So I'm going to just order these, looking for the lowest one, 1. So I'm going to put that one there. I've got 2 2s, 2, 2, and how many 3s have I got? 1, 2 3s? Yep. 3, 3. Next one's an 8. Then I've got a 10. I've got a 13. A 14. A 15 and a 16. Okay, so I've ordered my data now, and I can start to find out these things. So the minimum is easy, that's 1. The maximum is easy, that is 16. The median, straightforward, isn't it? It's the one in the middle. So 1, 2, so which one's in the middle if I were to cross them off? It is, well, let me do it with the n plus 1 divided by 2 method. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bits of data. So I'm going to add 1. 11 plus 1 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. I want a 6th bit of data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 8 is 8. That's my median there. And it is 8. My lower quartile, okay, I'm going to want the middle value between in here. So now one way in which we could do it is we do 11 plus 1 is 12, divided by 4 this time to find my lowest quarter. So 12 divided by 4 gives me 3, so it's the third bit of data. It's this bit of data here, and that's a 2. So my lower quartile is 2. My upper quartile is my 12 times 3 quarters, which is my 9th bit of data. I could just add 3 onto here, and we can see that's halfway in between my median and the end. So yes, that's my upper quartile, is here, which is 14. And I can now put this in my as a stem and leaf diagram. So this has been considered relatively easily done. So if I started here on 1, would I have enough space? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yes, I would, because I only need to go between 1 and 16. So I'm going to make this where I'm going to start. I'll do a nice big stem and leaf diagram for us. So I'll try to make it nice and bold. I am using a pencil, but to make it show up, I'm going to use a pen actually. I'd like you guys to use a pencil, but I'm going to use a pen to make it show up better on the camera. So there we go. That's my lower quartile. I'll make it. That's not my lower quartile. That's my minimum. Okay. I'll just put these all in as lines to start with. That's my minimum, my lower quartile, and that's 1. So it's starting at 1. 2 is my lower quartile. So I'm going to put another line in straight away at 2. That's the lower quartile of my data. My median is 8. So 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll just write these bits in. 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so my median is at 8. Put that in nice and solidly. Okay. Just so you can see it. I'm just doing that strongly so you can see it. Okay, so my median's at 8. My upper quartile is at 14. And my maximum is at 16. So I'm just putting these all in as lines. Now it's a box and whisker diagram, or a box plot. So I know that I'm going to have whiskers going out. Firstly, the bit that's boxed is the interquartile range. So that's between the upper quartile and the lower quartile. So I'm going to box that up like that. And I'm going to put my whiskers on, which go between my lower quartile and the minimum, and my upper quartile and the maximum. That is that. Complete. Very few people got the 5 marks for that. Okay. State the interquartile range of this data. Well, upper quartile, take away lower quartile, it's this range here that we're after. So in this case it's 14, take away 2 equals 12. Many of you did get full marks for that, but you didn't get the correct lower and upper quartile. But I gave you the marks for working out that the interquartile range is the upper quartile, take away the lower quartile. So that's a follow-through error mark. So if I've written FTE on your paper, that's what it is. Okay. Last question of your test. So 30 students took 2 tests, one in physics and one in mathematics. The results of the tests are represented in the following diagram. All you have to do here is compare the results of the 2 tests, stating any similarities and any differences. Okay, so many of you got good marks for this. You just need to... There's so many different... I'm not going to bother writing them down. There's so many different things you can say. I could say that the median for both tests was the same, and it looks like it's 48. So the median for both tests was the same, was 48%. Or, that's one thing you could say. Another thing you could say was that the upper quartile was the same for both tests. Okay. Differences. Let's have a look at a few differences. The range of marks on the maths test was greater. So there were people there was a greater range of marks. The difference between the highest mark scored and the lowest mark scored was greater on the maths test than the physics test. That's another thing you could say. You could also say that the interquartile range of the maths test was larger than the physics test. You can say that as well. What else could we say? We could say that the minimum score on the maths test was lower than the minimum score on the physics test. We could say the maximum score on the maths test was higher than the maximum score on the physics test. We could say that the difference between the lowest score and the lower quartile was the same on the maths test and the physics test. Or we could say that the difference between the upper quartile and the maximum score was higher on the maths test and the physics test. So there's plenty that we can say. We just need to use our knowledge here to be able to compare these. And that is the end of that. So I would like you to make sure you've done your corrections on this test, and then to complete your homework sheet, which has similar questions, trying to get 100%. I would like to see most of us with at least up over 80% and probably close to 100%, because if you've watched this video, you should be at about 100% when you're completing that homework. Thank you very much.